I was mentioning before we went into the weather that there might be something new with the NHL talks.
There is.
Good. Tell us about it.
You're such a wise fellow, Michael. All you ravenous hockey fans who feared the worst from this week's National Hockey League contract talks in Toronto can relax. Tonight, the owners and the players reached an agreement on a 5-year collective bargaining deal. However, at this time, no details of the agreement have been announced yet. The players were seeking the same kind of free agency deal that baseball players enjoy, and the owners were talking tough, so obviously both did quite a bit of bending. Well, the smallest version of the Commonwealth Games since the Vancouver version back in the 50s gets underway tomorrow in Edinburgh, Scotland. After all of those countries that boycotted, one actually changed their mind today, at least the athletes did. Bermuda defied their country's Olympic Association and decided to compete, and you can bet if other countries that are boycotting let their athletes decide, all would be there. Anyway, they held the opening ceremonies today, and yes, we showed up. Canada, that is, led into the stadium by arguably the fastest man in the world, Ben Johnson. Competition itself gets underway tomorrow. Prince Philip was on hand in Scotland today to officially open the games. We will have highlights, by the way, of first day highlights anyway tomorrow night for a couple hours between 7 and 9 o'clock at night. On the baseball scoreboard now, kind of a light night. The Blue Jays have the evening off. They open up a series in Oakland tomorrow night. Here are the American League games for you tonight. Kansas City, Lonnie Smith broke up a scoreless game in the 8th inning with a home run, giving the Royals a 1-0 victory over the Tigers. We have got highlights of this one.
The 3rd inning told the story in this game as the Astros scored 8 times. Here, Phil Garner hits a long drive to right field. It's over the head of Glenn Wilson and to the wall. Glenn Davis comes in to score. Kevin Bass making his way in as well as the Astros build up an 8-0 lead after 3. Meanwhile, Astros fireballer Mike Scott having a typical night, striking out 13 batters in 7 innings. Here's sending Mike Schmidt down. It was a great night for the Astros, except for this young man, Tom Funk, making his Major League debut. The first batter he faces is John Russell, and he welcomes Funk into the big leagues with this solo homer to left center field. But the Astros go on to beat the Phillies 9-3. Scott Clark for NBC News.
Well, guess what? I goofed that one up. I was supposed to have the National League scores first, but we will go through the National League one. That was obviously not the Kansas City-Detroit game. We'll get to those highlights a little later. We can tell you that a 7-run first inning led the Baltimore Orioles through a 12-6 rout of the White Sox tonight. Rick Dempsey's 3-run homer capped the inning, and we definitely have highlights of this one.
We start in the bottom of the 1st inning. This is Rick Dempsey providing a big blow for the Orioles. Here's slamming one off Joe Colley with 2 men aboard. Good for a 3-run homer. The Orioles scored 7 times in the 1st inning to take a 7-0 lead. Now the home run derby continues. After a solo shot by Jim Traber in the 2nd, Lee Lacy connects off Bill Dawley in the 3rd for another 3-run homer. 11-0 Orioles. Harold Baines hurts his back and later had to leave the game. In the top of the 4th inning, Mike Flanagan coasting along with an 11-2 lead when Greg Walker hits a fly ball deep to center. Fred Lynn goes back to the wall. He'll catch it, but then the ball skirts out of his glove. Lynn collides with the wall. 2-run homer for Walker. Lynn was okay, and so were the Orioles. They beat the White Sox 12-6. Scott Clark for NBC News.
Wall beat up on some of the players tonight. Texas over Cleveland 7-3. Mike Loyne made his Major League debut as Texas snapped that 7-game losing streak, winning this one. Loyne allowed 3 runs in 6 innings to get the win. Here's the highlights.
We pick it up in the bottom of the 2nd inning. The Rangers up 1-0. Phil Niekro's knuckleball just wasn't working on this night. Curtis Wilkerson sends it flying to right center field. He misses a home run by just a few feet, but it allows Don Slott to come home from 3rd, and then Steve Buechele gets the go sign. He'll slide in safely as well. The Rangers took the early lead 3-0. Next up, the case of the fair or foul ball. Rangers' Gary Ward swings big, but the ball goes rolling down the line, going foul, going fair, going foul. Nope, it stays fair. Gary Ward gets a base hit. Hey, what the heck, he'll take it. The Indians perplexed by the pitching of Mike Loyne making his Major League debut. Here he gets Andre Thornton. The Rangers lead 7-3.
Okay, on to the National League scores now. Montreal completed the game that was suspended about 2 or 3 weeks ago with Cincinnati, and they ended up losing 10-2, the final score in that game. In the regular game, they're now in the 14th inning. The Expos have taken a lead 6-5. Los Angeles and Pittsburgh, the Dodgers whipped the Pirates 9-2 to complete a sweep of that 3-game series. Franklin Stubbs homered twice, and Bill Madlock and Jeff Hamilton also had homers. Fernando Valenzuela was the winner, limiting the Pirates to 5 hits over 7 innings. Dodgers scored 4 runs in the first against loser Bob Walker, and Houston over Philadelphia 9-3. You already saw the highlights of that one a little earlier. Well, thanks to the folks that put together the Guinness Book of World Records. There are a lot of folks out there who will do lots of strange things to get their name in the book, and such is the case of a Metro Toronto slow pitch team.
Last month, 2 teams in Los Alamos, New Mexico made their way into the Guinness Book of World Records by playing 100 consecutive hours of slow pitch baseball. And here at home, the Howard Johnson Marathoners of Scarborough have launched their effort at becoming the first single team to hit the century mark in consecutive hours played. The Marathoners will take on 50 different opponents day and night until this Sunday afternoon, when they will have reached their grueling goal. And it's up to manager Bob Dallas to keep his players on their feet.
My theory is positive thinking, positive results. Just talking to them, working with them. They have a power sleep every 9 hours, which for about 15 minutes. I take them back by limo to the hotel. They get bandaged up, they have a quick shower, and they rest, and then they're back on the field again. It's a lot of positive thinking.
The money raised here at Toyota Park through food sales, donations, and sponsors will go to the Birchmount Center for the Mentally Handicapped. The goal, $25,000. And while Dallas wants that victory off the field, he's also looking for wins on it.
I want 50% of the games. I won't be disappointed if I don't get them. I want the 25,000. I want the 100 hours. That's good, but we're gonna do our best.
In Scarborough, Ken Daniels, CBC Sports.
Chris Johnson shot a 5 under par 67 to take the first round lead at the Des Maurier Golf Classic near Toronto. It is the last of the LPGA's Tour 4 major events, very big. In second place is Joanne Carner at 3 under. 4 players are tied at 2 under. That's Patty Sheehan, Kathy Morse, Kathy Johnson, and Nancy Scranton. Top Canadian is Nancy White, who shot a 71. Joey McAvoy, an amateur, also Canadian, is in at 72. And Don Cohen, Barb Bumkowski are in at 73. CBC's Don Martin was there for the early part of round 1, and he has this report.
Just as the veterans have dominated the major events on the PGA Tour this season, so too it looked like the veteran Sandra Palmer would dominate the opening round of the final LPGA major of the year, the Des Maurier Classic. But instead, Patty Sheehan made up 4 strokes on the final few holes and came into her 18th with an early 1-stroke lead at 2 under par, playing in the same group with Palmer, who at one point was 4 under par, but bogeyed 3 holes in a row starting on her 14th, and settled for a 1 under par 71 for a share of second place, part of a large group behind Patty Sheehan, one of the LPGA Tour's all-time top 10 money winners. Sheehan finishing up on the front with a par and an opening round 70 for an early 1-stroke lead.
I basically tried to hit a lot of greens and not make mistakes, and I'd made a few mistakes that have gotten me in trouble before. So, you know, I just basically try to hit a lot of greens and be real calm. I love this area. It reminds me of my home in Vermont, so I feel very calm here, and I'm pretty much at peace with myself.
At the Des Maurier Classic, this is Don Martin, CBC Sports.
Lots more golf news this evening. David Jukes of Toronto has advanced to the 3rd round of match play at the U.S. Junior Amateur Golf Championship in Dublin, Ohio. In his first round match, Jukes defeated Jean-Paul Hebert of Houston. He then ousted Hub Goyen of Arizona in the second round. Brendan Little of St. Thomas, Ontario, was a first-round loser against Phil Mickelson of California. And Jim Rutledge of Victoria is 2 shots back after the first round of the Buick Open in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Rookies Davis Love and Bill Perot each shot 7 under par 65s to share the lead. They are 1 shot ahead of Ed Fiore. Dan Halderson of Brandon Manitoba carded at 72, while Dave Barr of BC is at 76. And Frank Fowler of Battleford, Saskatchewan, won the Canadian Professional Golfers Association Senior Championship in Winnipeg. On the CFL scoreboard quick this evening, Winnipeg defeated Calgary 24-20 out west in the game you may have seen here on CKVR. Montreal came back to defeat Ottawa 29-28. Pretty good football game. That's sports.
Thank you, Kevin. Quick weather word, Bob?
Looks like we're in for some showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, then we'll get on to the sunshine during the weekend.
Total News reports next at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon with Tom Hayes and Carla Gillies. Until then, for Bob McIntyre and Kevin, I'm Mike Jaworski. Good night.